Fearless, Transforming Fear into Power and Confidence, written and published by Stoic Guardian. Introduction. When Stoic Guardian published Fearless, Transforming Fear into Power and Confidence in 2024, they crafted a profound exploration of our relationship with fear and its potential for transformation. This groundbreaking book delves deep into the heart of what holds us back and illuminates the path forward. Fear, as the book reveals, is not merely an obstacle to overcome, but a powerful catalyst for personal growth and transformation. Through rich metaphors and practical wisdom, the book demonstrates how our deepest fears often mask our greatest opportunities for growth. It challenges the conventional wisdom that success requires fearlessness, instead proposing a revolutionary approach, learning to dance with our fears rather than fighting them. The book guides readers through a transformative journey, showing how every fear we face contains seeds of strength waiting to bloom. From the fear of failure to the anxiety of success, from relationship uncertainties to professional challenges, each chapter builds upon the last to create a comprehensive framework for personal evolution. This work stands as a testament to the human capacity for growth and the remarkable potential that lies within our most challenging emotions. Chapter 1. What are you afraid of, and why? The shadow on the wall looms larger than reality. Standing in front of the conference room, your heart pounds against your ribs, hands trembling as you clutch your presentation notes. But what truly terrifies you is not the act of speaking, it is the story you tell yourself about what might happen. Fear speaks in whispers and screams, in subtle hesitations and paralyzing panic. It masquerades as practicality when you postpone your dreams, as wisdom when you avoid taking chances, as protection when you build walls around your heart. These fears, both subtle and overwhelming, shape your decisions, relationships, and the very trajectory of your life. Understanding your fears requires more than surface-level awareness. Each fear carries a history, a purpose, and a lesson waiting to be uncovered. That tension in your chest before an important conversation, it might stem from childhood experiences of not being heard. The resistance to pursuing your passion, perhaps it is rooted in past disappointments or inherited beliefs about what is possible. Your brain is hardwired to protect you, constantly scanning for threats, both real and imagined. This ancient survival mechanism served our ancestors well when dangers were primarily physical. Today, your mind applies the same life or death intensity to social situations, career decisions, and personal growth opportunities. The result? A complex web of fears that often protect you from growth rather than harm. The key lies in understanding that fear itself is not your enemy. Like a loyal but overprotective friend, it aims to keep you safe. By examining your fears with curiosity rather than judgment, you begin to see patterns emerge. Each fear points to something you value, something you desire to protect or achieve. Start by noticing when fear appears in your daily life. What triggers it? What stories does it tell? What actions does it prompt you to take or avoid? This awareness becomes your foundation for transformation. As you map your fear landscape, you will discover that many fears cluster around common themes. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown. These insights serve as your compass for growth. When you understand why certain situations trigger fear, you gain the power to respond rather than react. You learn to distinguish between fears that protect and fears that limit. This understanding becomes your bridge from paralysis to power. The journey of understanding your fears is not about elimination, it is about evolution. As you develop a deeper relationship with your fears, they transform from obstacles into indicators, from barriers into breadcrumbs leading toward growth. Your fears, once understood, become powerful allies in your journey toward authenticity and fulfillment. Chapter 2. Can you make it disappear? Death and taxes, these are often called life's only certainties. Yet there's another constant companion walking beside us: fear. The question, can you make fear disappear, echoes through self-help books and motivational speeches. The answer might surprise you and liberate you. Trying to eliminate fear is like attempting to stop the ocean's waves. You might succeed momentarily, but the tide always returns. This relentless pursuit of fearlessness often creates more anxiety than the original fear itself. The real breakthrough comes not from fighting fear, but from fundamentally shifting your relationship with it. Consider the skilled surfer who doesn't fight the wave but works with its energy. Fear, like those waves, carries tremendous power. When you learn to harness this energy rather than resist it, everything changes. Your racing heart before a presentation becomes excitement rather than anxiety. The butterflies in your stomach before a crucial conversation transform into alertness rather than distress. The path forward isn't about elimination, it's about integration. Fear serves as your body's sophisticated alarm system, refined over millions of years of evolution. Attempting to dismantle this system isn't just futile, it's counterproductive. Instead, think of fear as a sensitive instrument that needs calibration, not destruction. This calibration begins with acceptance. When fear arrives, welcome it as an old friend who means well but sometimes overreacts. Notice how it manifests in your body, the tightness in your chest, the shallow breathing, the racing thoughts. These physical sensations aren't your enemy, they're messages from your internal protection system. Learning to sit with discomfort becomes your superpower. Rather than immediately seeking escape when fear arises, practice staying present. This doesn't mean enduring unnecessary pain, but rather developing the capacity to distinguish between productive and unproductive fear. Some fears protect you from genuine threats. Others simply protect you from growth. As you develop this relationship with fear, you'll notice something remarkable. The fears don't disappear, but their power over you diminishes. Like a flashlight beam in a dark room, fear helps you navigate but no longer defines the entire space. You begin to see beyond the immediate emotional response to the opportunities that lie on the other side. The goal shifts from elimination to elevation. Instead of trying to become fearless, focus on becoming fear-fluent. This fluency allows you to read fear's messages without being consumed by them. You learn to extract the wisdom while leaving behind the worry. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of purpose despite fear. As you embrace this truth, you'll find yourself moving forward not because the fear is gone, but because your relationship with it has evolved. This evolution marks the beginning of true emotional freedom. Chapter 3. From Pain to Power. Lightning splits the night sky, illuminating the path ahead for a brief, electric moment. Pain works similarly. It flashes through our lives, revealing truths we might otherwise miss. The journey from pain to power isn't about escaping the storm. It's about learning to harness its energy. Pain arrives uninvited, often leaving us feeling vulnerable and exposed. Yet within these raw moments lie seeds of extraordinary strength. Every rejection that stings carries lessons about resilience. Each setback that burns contains insights about adaptation. The key lies not in avoiding these experiences, but in extracting their transformative potential. Consider how a pearl forms. Through constant irritation, a grain of sand becomes something precious. Your painful experiences, whether from childhood wounds or recent disappointments, can undergo a similar transformation. This alchemy doesn't minimize the hurt. Rather, it gives it purpose and direction. The process begins with acknowledgement. Pain demands to be felt, and suppressing it only drives it deeper. When you allow yourself to fully experience these difficult emotions, you discover they're not endless abysses, but passages leading to understanding. Each tear shed becomes a drop of wisdom. Each moment of grief, a stepping stone to growth. Through this conscious engagement with pain, patterns emerge. You start recognizing how certain experiences shaped your beliefs, decisions, and relationships. These insights become your toolkit for transformation. The fear of abandonment that once paralyzed you becomes a guide toward building authentic connections. The memory of failure that haunted you transforms into a roadmap for resilience. This transformation requires patience and presence. Like a skilled alchemist, you learn to work with the raw material of your experiences. You develop the ability to sit with discomfort long enough to extract its lessons. Every painful memory becomes an opportunity for reintegration and strength. As you traverse this path, something remarkable occurs. The very experiences that once seemed like your greatest weaknesses become your most powerful teachers. You develop a form of emotional immunity, not because you no longer feel pain, but because you understand its role in your growth. Remember, power doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from moving through it with purpose. Each step forward, even when difficult, builds your capacity for resilience. The journey from pain to power isn't about reaching a destination where hurt no longer exists. It's about developing the ability to transform every experience into fuel for growth. Chapter 4. Whether you want it or not, it's yours. Life thrusts responsibilities into our hands without asking permission. That promotion you weren't sure you were ready for? It's yours. The challenge that seems beyond your current capabilities? Also yours. This raw truth often triggers resistance. We want to feel completely prepared before taking ownership of our power. The mantle of responsibility rarely arrives when we feel ready. It comes wrapped in doubt, tied with strings of uncertainty, and delivered at seemingly inconvenient moments. Yet this very timing, however uncomfortable, contains hidden wisdom. It pushes us beyond the artificial limitations we've placed on ourselves. Think of a bird learning to fly. The mother doesn't wait until the fledgling feels completely confident. Nature knows that confidence comes through action, not preparation. Similarly, your capabilities often reveal themselves only when circumstances demand their emergence. The leadership role you doubt you can handle becomes the very experience that proves your capacity for growth. This understanding shifts everything. Instead of asking whether you're ready for what life presents, you begin to recognize that readiness is a myth. No one feels fully prepared for their greatest challenges or opportunities. The most successful individuals aren't those who wait until they feel ready. They're the ones who embrace what's before them and grow into it. Your power and potential are already yours, waiting to be claimed. Like a muscle that strengthens through use, your capabilities expand through engagement. Each time you step into a challenge that stretches you, you're not just handling that specific situation, you're expanding your capacity for future growth. This ownership extends beyond obvious achievements. It includes the shadow aspects of your personality, the mistakes you've made, and the fears you carry. True power comes from embracing all of it, the victories and the vulnerabilities, the strengths and the struggles. When you accept that all of these elements are yours, they transform from burdens into building blocks. The process requires radical honesty with yourself. It means acknowledging both your capabilities and your areas for growth. It involves accepting that you might not feel ready, but choosing to move forward anyway. This honest self-assessment becomes your foundation for authentic power. Remember, whether you want it or not, your potential is yours. Your past experiences, present challenges, and future possibilities, all of it belongs to you. The question isn't whether you're ready for what's yours, it's how you'll choose to engage with it. Your power awaits not in some distant future when you feel fully prepared, but in this moment's decision to embrace what's already yours. Chapter 5. Pollyanna rides again. Between the dark clouds, a streak of sunlight breaks through, painting the world in momentary gold. This isn't just optimism, it's practical magic. The story of Pollyanna, often dismissed as naive positivity, actually contains profound wisdom about the power of perspective and its ability to reshape reality. Modern science confirms what Pollyanna intuited. Our brains are pattern recognition machines, constantly filtering reality through our expectations. When you choose to look for possibilities rather than problems, you're not denying reality, you're expanding your perception of what's possible. This shift isn't about wearing rose-colored glasses. It's about developing the ability to see in multiple spectrums. Think of perspective as a lens through which you view your experiences. Just as a photographer changes lenses to capture different aspects of a scene, you can adjust your perspective to reveal new opportunities within challenges. This isn't about ignoring difficulties, but about developing the capacity to see beyond them. The real power lies in understanding that optimism isn't about prediction, it's about creation. When you approach situations looking for possibilities, you prime your brain to recognize opportunities that pessimism might miss. This creates a self-fulfilling cycle where expectation shapes perception and perception influences results. This approach requires courage. The courage to hope when circumstances suggest despair, to seek light in seemingly dark situations. It means choosing to believe in possibilities while fully acknowledging current realities. This balanced optimism becomes a practical tool for navigation rather than a naive escape. Consider how this perspective shift changes your approach to challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" Rather than seeing obstacles as roadblocks, you view them as opportunities for creative problem solving. This isn't denial, it's strategic optimism. The practice becomes particularly powerful in relationships and communication. When you approach interactions looking for common ground rather than conflict, you create space for understanding and connection. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means entering them with the belief that positive outcomes are possible. Your capacity for finding light in darkness grows stronger with practice. Like building any muscle, it requires consistent exercise. Choosing to seek opportunities in challenges, finding lessons in setbacks, and maintaining faith in possibility even when immediate evidence seems contrary. This isn't just positive thinking, it's positive action, backed by the understanding that perspective shapes experience. In reclaiming Pollyanna's wisdom, you're not choosing blindness to reality. You're choosing to expand your vision of what's possible. This enlightened optimism becomes your tool for transformation, turning challenges into opportunities and obstacles into stepping stones. The power lies not in denying the darkness, but in remembering to look for the light. Chapter 6. When they don't want you to grow. Silent disapproval hangs in the air like heavy fog. The raised eyebrows when you mention your dreams, the subtle sighs when you speak of change, the carefully worded suggestions to be realistic. These are the invisible hands that try to hold you in place. Growth threatens the status quo, and not everyone in your life will celebrate your evolution. That resistance often comes from unexpected sources. Family members who claim to want the best for you, friends who've known you for years, colleagues who've grown comfortable with your current role. Their opposition isn't always malicious. It's often rooted in their own fears, limitations, and desire for stability. Understanding this dynamic changes everything. When you recognize that others' resistance to your growth reflects their relationship with change rather than your potential, you gain freedom from the weight of their expectations. Their doubts become less about your capabilities and more about their comfort zones. Your growth challenges others' assumptions not just about you, but about what's possible for them. When you begin to transform, you hold up a mirror to those around you. Some will feel inspired, others threatened. Your courage to change forces them to confront their own choices, their own uncommitted dreams, their own comfortable compromises. The pressure to remain unchanged comes in many forms. Sometimes it's direct discouragement, warnings about risks, or reminders of past failures. More often, it's subtle: lack of support, passive-aggressive comments, or attempts to distract you from your goals. These forces can feel like gravity, constantly pulling you back to familiar ground. Yet this resistance carries hidden gifts. It strengthens your resolve, clarifies your commitment, and helps you distinguish between your authentic desires and others' expectations. Each act of opposition becomes an opportunity to recommit to your path, to choose growth over comfort, progress over popularity. The key lies in responding rather than reacting. Instead of fighting against the resistance or trying to convince others of your path, focus your energy on movement forward. Let your growth speak for itself. The most powerful response to doubt is consistent action toward your goals. Building a support system becomes crucial. Seek out those who encourage growth, who understand the courage it takes to evolve. These allies become your mirrors of possibility, reflecting back your potential rather than your limitations. Their presence helps counterbalance the voices of doubt and stagnation. Remember, your growth is not a democracy. It doesn't require unanimous approval. The only vote that truly counts is your own. When you fully embrace this truth, others' resistance loses its power to derail you. Their disapproval becomes background noise to the sound of your own unfolding story. Chapter 7. How to make a no-lose decision. The crossroads looms before you, each path disappearing into fog. Traditional wisdom says every decision carries the risk of regret, the possibility of choosing wrong. But what if every choice could lead to growth? What if you could approach decisions not with fear of loss, but with certainty of gain? The secret lies in redefining what constitutes a right decision. When you shift your focus from outcomes to growth opportunities, every path becomes valuable. The question transforms from, "What if I make the wrong choice?" to, "What can I learn from this direction?" This mindset revolution begins with understanding that decisions are not endpoints but doorways. Each choice opens new possibilities, presents fresh challenges, and offers unique lessons. The path you don't take isn't a lost opportunity. It's a different kind of growth, saved for another time. Consider how this perspective changes your approach to decision-making. Instead of paralysis from trying to predict every possible outcome, you focus on what each option offers in terms of learning and development. Both the safe choice and the risky one contain opportunities for growth. They simply offer different kinds of lessons. The process becomes even more powerful when you recognize that most decisions are reversible or adjustable. Few choices truly lock you into an unchangeable path. This understanding frees you from the weight of perfectionism and allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing you can adapt as you learn. Your relationship with uncertainty transforms. Rather than seeing it as a threat to be eliminated through endless analysis, you recognize it as an inevitable companion on any worthwhile journey. The question shifts from, "How can I be sure this is right?" to, "What growth opportunities does this uncertainty offer?" This approach doesn't mean abandoning careful consideration. Instead, it means including personal growth as a key factor in your decision-making process. When you view every choice as an opportunity for learning, you expand your definition of success beyond traditional measures. The practice of no-lose decision-making builds confidence through action. Each time you make a choice focused on growth rather than fear of failure, you strengthen your trust in your ability to handle whatever comes. This growing confidence creates a positive cycle, making future decisions easier. Your decisions become less about avoiding mistakes and more about choosing between different forms of growth. This shift transforms decision-making from a source of anxiety into an exciting exploration of possibilities. Every choice becomes an opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve. Chapter 8. How whole is your whole life? Life fragments into boxes, career, relationships, health, spirituality. We organize, compartmentalize, and separate, believing this makes our existence more manageable. Yet true wholeness emerges not from perfect organization, but from deep integration. The question of how whole your life feels strikes at the heart of fulfillment. Balance becomes a misleading metaphor, suggesting that life's aspects should be perfectly weighted against each other. This mechanical view misses the organic nature of a well-lived life. Think instead of an ecosystem, where each element feeds into and strengthens the others, creating a dynamic harmony rather than a static equilibrium. The modern tendency to separate work from life creates an artificial divide. Your creativity at work influences your home life. Your relationships affect your professional performance. Your physical health impacts your mental clarity. When you begin seeing these connections, you stop trying to balance competing elements and start cultivating synergies. Consider how often you feel pulled in different directions, as though satisfying one area of life must come at the cost of another. This tension often stems not from actual conflict, but from fragmented thinking. When you view your life as an integrated whole, apparent conflicts transform into opportunities for creative solutions. Integration begins with awareness. Notice how improvements in one area naturally flow into others. A regular meditation practice enhances both emotional resilience and professional focus. Physical exercise boosts both mental clarity and relationship energy. These connections reveal the artificial nature of the boundaries we create. Your values provide the thread that weaves life's aspects together. When you identify core principles that matter across all areas, perhaps authenticity, growth, or contribution, you create natural bridges between seemingly separate domains. These values become your compass for making decisions that serve the whole rather than just a part. Resistance to wholeness often comes from fear of complexity, of losing control, of failing to excel in every area simultaneously. Yet embracing wholeness doesn't mean pursuing perfection in all areas. It means understanding how each aspect of your life supports and enriches the others. The path to wholeness requires courage to break down artificial walls. It means bringing your full self to each moment rather than compartmentalizing parts of your identity. The professional who can access their creativity, the parent who brings leadership skills home, the friend who shares wisdom from personal growth. These represent integration in action. True wholeness emerges not from perfect balance, but from authentic integration. It's found in the moments when work feels like play, when personal growth serves professional success, when individual development strengthens relationships. Your whole life awaits, not in perfect organization, but in deep connection. Chapter 9. Just nod your head. Say yes. The word sits on your tongue, powerful in its simplicity. Yes. Not the automatic yes of people-pleasing, not the resigned yes of obligation, but the expansive yes of possibility. This yes resonates with your entire being, opening doors you never knew existed. It's the yes that changes everything. Saying yes to life means embracing its full spectrum of experiences. It means stepping toward uncertainty with curiosity rather than retreating in fear. This yes isn't blind acceptance, it's conscious engagement with all that life offers, both challenges and opportunities. The power of yes lies in its ability to create momentum. Each genuine yes builds upon the previous one, creating a forward motion that transforms hesitation into action. Like a muscle strengthening through use, your capacity for positive engagement grows with each affirmative response to life's invitations. This practice challenges the protective no that often comes from fear or habit. While discernment remains important, many of our automatic no's stem from comfort zones rather than wisdom. Learning to distinguish between protective and restrictive no's opens the space for transformative yeses. The yes that matters most isn't always to external opportunities. Sometimes it's the internal yes. Yes to your dreams, yes to your needs, yes to your growth. These personal affirmations become the foundation for authentic engagement with the world around you. Saying yes requires presence. It means fully experiencing each moment, rather than living in past regrets or future anxieties. This presence allows you to recognize opportunities that fear might otherwise mask. It enables you to respond to life with openness rather than automatic resistance. The practice transforms relationships by creating space for genuine connection. When you approach interactions with an attitude of yes, you open yourself to understanding rather than judgment, to possibility rather than limitation. This openness invites others to share their authentic selves. Yes becomes a lens through which you view challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as barriers, you begin recognizing them as invitations to growth. The question shifts from "why is this happening?" to "what opportunities does this present?" This perspective shift alone can transform difficulties into stepping stones. Remember, this yes isn't about abandoning boundaries. It's about expanding possibilities. It's about choosing engagement over withdrawal, growth over stagnation, life over fear. Each yes becomes a declaration of trust in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Chapter 10. Choosing love and trust. Raw vulnerability pulsates like an exposed nerve. The choice stands before you. Retreat behind walls of protection or step forward into the uncertainty of connection. Love and trust aren't just feelings that happen to us. They're conscious choices we make in the face of life's inherent risks. The scars from past hurts whisper their warnings. Each disappointment, betrayal, or loss leaves its mark, tempting us to choose safety over openness. Yet these very wounds contain the seeds of deeper wisdom. They teach us not to avoid love and trust, but to choose them more consciously. This conscious choice begins with self-trust. Before you can truly open to others, you must trust your own capacity to handle whatever comes. This inner trust becomes your foundation, allowing you to remain grounded even when external circumstances feel uncertain. The decision to trust doesn't guarantee safety from hurt. It guarantees growth through experience. Like a tree that grows stronger through weathering storms, your capacity for love and trust deepens through both positive and challenging experiences. Each time you choose openness over protection, you build emotional resilience. Love and trust operate as muscles rather than resources. You don't run out of them through use. Instead, they grow stronger with exercise. Every time you choose to see the best in someone, to give another chance, to remain open despite uncertainty, these muscles strengthen. The practice transforms your relationship with risk. Instead of seeing vulnerability as weakness, you recognize it as the source of your deepest connections and most profound growth. The very act of choosing love, despite uncertainty, becomes an expression of personal power. This shift ripples through all your relationships, professional, personal, and spiritual. When you approach interactions from a foundation of chosen trust rather than automatic suspicion, you create space for authentic connection. Others often respond to this openness by revealing their own deeper truths. The choice to love and trust requires regular renewal. Each situation presents a fresh opportunity to choose openness over protection, connection over isolation. These moments of choice become your practice ground for building emotional courage and interpersonal wisdom. Remember, choosing love and trust doesn't mean abandoning discernment. It means approaching life with an open heart while maintaining healthy boundaries. This balance allows you to remain vulnerable without becoming naive, open without becoming defenseless. Chapter 11. filling the inner void. An empty echo resonates within, a space no achievement, relationship, or possession seems to fill completely. This inner void, often mistaken for a curse, actually holds the key to your deepest fulfillment. The secret lies not in filling it, but in understanding its true nature. Society teaches us to run from emptiness, to fill every moment with activity, every silence with noise, every void with something, anything. This constant stuffing of the inner space creates a cycle of temporary satisfaction followed by deeper hunger. The things we use to fill the void, success, relationships, material possessions, become like water in a leaking cup. The breakthrough comes when you stop treating the void as an enemy to be conquered and start seeing it as a space of infinite potential. Like the empty canvas that holds all possible paintings, your inner void contains all possible manifestations of your being. It's not a defect to be fixed, but a gift to be understood. This understanding begins with presence. When you sit quietly with the emptiness instead of rushing to fill it, its nature transforms. What felt like an aching void begins to reveal itself as spaciousness, room for growth, creativity, and authentic expression. The very emptiness you feared becomes your source of freedom. The void serves as your internal compass, pointing toward authentic growth. When external achievements fail to fill it, it's guiding you toward deeper truth. When relationships don't complete you, it's teaching you about self-wholeness. Each attempt to fill it that falls short directs you closer to genuine fulfillment. This journey requires radical honesty about your relationship with emptiness. Notice how often you use busyness, achievement, or relationships to avoid feeling the void. These patterns of avoidance, once recognized, become opportunities for deeper understanding and authentic choice. The practice of embracing emptiness transforms your relationship with yourself. Instead of seeing yourself as incomplete, always needing something more to be whole, you begin recognizing your inherent completeness. The void becomes not a space of lack, but a field of pure potential. This shift changes everything. Achievement becomes expression rather than compensation. Relationships become sharing rather than filling. Material success becomes a channel for creativity rather than an attempt to prove worth. The energy once spent running from emptiness now fuels authentic living. Your relationship with the void becomes a dance of being and becoming. You learn to rest in the emptiness while simultaneously engaging with life's fullness. This paradox, being complete while continuing to grow, becomes your path to genuine fulfillment. Chapter 12. There is plenty of time. Time flows like a river, but our relationship with it often feels more like wrestling a tornado. The relentless tick of the clock, the growing to-do lists, the constant feeling of falling behind. These create an illusion of scarcity that paradoxically makes us less effective with the time we have. The truth about time exists beyond the numbers on our watches. While physical time moves at its own unchangeable pace, our experience of time, and therefore our relationship with it, can transform dramatically. This shift begins with a radical proposition: there is enough time for what truly matters. Consider how your perception of time changes based on your state of mind. In flow states, hours pass like minutes. In anxiety, minutes stretch like hours. This malleability reveals that our experience of time responds more to our internal state than external reality. The secret lies in shifting from time management to energy alignment. When you're engaged in activities that resonate with your true purpose, time expands. The frantic rush dissolves into focused flow. This isn't about moving faster. It's about moving in harmony with your natural rhythms and authentic priorities. Traditional productivity advice often treats time like a resource to be squeezed and optimized. But time responds better to wisdom than force. When you align your activities with your energy cycles and core values, you accomplish more with less struggle. The pressure to hurry actually slows you down. Your relationship with time influences every aspect of life. Rushing creates tension that blocks creativity and intuition. The belief in scarcity generates stress that impairs decision-making. By contrast, a sense of temporal abundance allows wisdom to emerge naturally. This abundance mindset requires trust. Trust that there is time for what matters. Trust in your ability to discern priorities. Trust in the unfolding of your path. This trust doesn't come from external guarantees, but from internal alignment with your truth. The practice involves regular pauses to realign with this deeper time awareness. These moments of stillness, far from wasting time, actually expand your experience of it. Like taking a deep breath in the midst of chaos, they create space for clarity and conscious choice. The recognition that there is plenty of time doesn't mean endless procrastination. Instead, it means engaging with time from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. This shift transforms time from an enemy to be fought into an ally in your journey of growth. Chapter 13. The Daily Fear Practice. Sunlight streams through your window, marking the start of another day. With it comes a choice. Will you let fear dictate your actions from the shadows, or will you bring it into the light through conscious practice? The daily fear practice isn't about eliminating fear, it's about transforming your relationship with it through consistent, intentional engagement. This practice begins the moment you open your eyes. Instead of automatically reacting to the day's first anxieties, you create a pause, a space to acknowledge and examine your fears with curiosity rather than resistance. This simple act of awareness starts shifting fear from your master to your teacher. The practice continues through small, deliberate choices throughout your day. When you feel the urge to avoid a challenging conversation, you lean in with conscious courage. When you want to postpone an important task out of perfectionism, you take one small step forward. Each moment becomes an opportunity to practice dancing with fear rather than fighting it. Consistency matters more than intensity in this practice. Like training a muscle, daily engagement with smaller fears builds the strength to handle larger ones. The goal isn't to tackle your biggest fears every day, but to maintain regular contact with the edge of your comfort zone. The practice involves 5 key elements: awareness, acceptance, inquiry, action, and reflection. You start by noticing fear's presence in your body and mind. Instead of trying to change or eliminate these sensations, you accept them as natural responses. Through inquiry, you explore what the fear might be teaching you. Action follows, not in spite of fear but alongside it. Finally, reflection helps integrate the lessons learned. This daily engagement reveals patterns in your fear response. You begin recognizing how certain situations trigger specific reactions, how your body signals fear before your mind acknowledges it, how different fears require different approaches. This growing understanding becomes your guide for future challenges. The practice transforms fear from an emergency alarm into a sophisticated feedback system. Rather than treating every fear as a warning to stop, you learn to distinguish between protective fears that keep you safe and limiting fears that keep you small. This discernment becomes increasingly refined through daily practice. Your relationship with uncertainty evolves through this practice. Instead of needing to eliminate all unknowns before taking action, you develop the capacity to move forward while holding space for uncertainty. This skill, acting in the presence of fear rather than waiting for its absence, becomes your foundation for growth. Remember, the goal of the daily fear practice isn't fearlessness, but fear fluency. Through consistent engagement, you develop the ability to read fear's messages without being ruled by them. Each day becomes an opportunity to grow, not by conquering fear, but by dancing with it more skillfully. Chapter 14. Reframing Fear from Obstacle to Opportunity. The mountain looms before you, its peak shrouded in clouds. Fear says it's an insurmountable obstacle. But what if that same mountain contains the precise challenges you need for growth? The art of reframing transforms fear from a wall that blocks you into a door that beckons. This transformation begins with a fundamental shift in perspective. Every fear points to something you value. Fear of public speaking reveals a desire to communicate effectively. Fear of commitment shows you value deep connection. Fear of failure highlights your commitment to success. When you view fear through this lens, it becomes a compass rather than a barrier. The practice of reframing requires conscious engagement with your fear response. Instead of automatically retreating when fear arises, pause to examine what this particular fear might be teaching you. Each fearful reaction contains information about your values, desires, and areas for potential growth. This shift in perspective changes your relationship with challenges. What once appeared as threats transform into invitations. The difficult conversation you've been avoiding becomes an opportunity to practice authentic communication. The project that intimidates you becomes a chance to expand your capabilities. Reframing operates at both the cognitive and emotional levels. While your mind learns to see opportunities in challenges, your body learns to interpret fear's physical sensations as excitement rather than danger. This dual transformation creates lasting change in how you approach fearful situations. The process involves developing a new vocabulary for fear. Instead of labeling experiences as scary or threatening, you begin seeing them as challenging, growth-promoting, or opportunity-rich. This linguistic shift might seem subtle, but it powerfully influences how you perceive and respond to fear-inducing situations. Your fear responses become valuable data rather than problems to solve. Each surge of anxiety or moment of hesitation provides information about where growth awaits. By viewing fear as feedback rather than failure, you transform your relationship with personal development. This reframing extends beyond individual challenges to your entire life journey. Rather than seeing your path as a series of obstacles to overcome, you begin recognizing it as a sequence of growth opportunities perfectly designed for your development. Each fear becomes a signpost pointing toward your next evolution. The practice of reframing doesn't eliminate fear. It transforms your relationship with it. Instead of asking, "How can I get rid of this fear?" you learn to ask, "What is this fear offering me?" This shift from resistance to curiosity opens new possibilities for growth and understanding. Chapter 15. The Fear of Success. Why we resist our own growth. Beneath the surface of procrastination, self-sabotage, and hesitation often lies a paradoxical truth. Sometimes we fear success more than failure. This counterintuitive fear operates in the shadows, disguising itself as practicality, perfectionism, or prudence, while quietly keeping us safely small. Success brings change, and change, even positive change, triggers our survival instincts. As you approach significant achievements, unconscious fears arise. Will success change who you are? Will others treat you differently? Can you handle the increased responsibility? These questions reflect deeper concerns about identity and belonging. The fear of success manifests in subtle ways. You might find yourself procrastinating just before a breakthrough, unconsciously creating obstacles in relationships as they deepen, or feeling inexplicably anxious when things are going well. These reactions protect you from the uncertainty that comes with growth and achievement. Understanding this fear requires examining your relationship with change and identity. Success often demands becoming someone new, stepping into a larger version of yourself. This evolution can feel threatening to your current self-position and to relationships built around your existing identity. The pressure of maintaining success can feel more daunting than the challenge of achieving it. The fear of reaching new heights only to fall back down can keep you safely at lower altitudes. This fear of potential future failure paradoxically, prevents current success. Social dynamics intensify this fear. Success can alter relationships, trigger others' insecurities, and create distance from familiar social circles. The unconscious fear of losing connection or belonging can make you hesitate just as opportunities for growth appear. These fears often have roots in early experiences. Messages about staying humble, not outshining others, or maintaining the status quo can create deep-seated resistance to success. Recognizing these inherited beliefs is crucial for moving beyond them. The path forward involves building a new relationship with success. Instead of seeing it as a destination that might threaten your identity, view it as a natural expression of your evolving self. Success becomes not something you achieve, but something you allow yourself to become. This shift requires trusting your capacity to handle positive change. Just as you've adapted to challenges in the past, you can adapt to the demands of success. Each step forward builds confidence in your ability to grow while maintaining your core values and authentic connections. Chapter 16. Silencing the inner critic. Words sharp as razors slice through your confidence. The voice sounds familiar. It should. You've been hearing it your entire life. Your inner critic speaks with authority, claiming to protect you while slowly dismantling your dreams. But this voice, powerful as it seems, can be transformed from a harsh judge into a wise counsel. The inner critic developed as a survival mechanism, an internal warning system designed to keep you safe from social rejection and potential failure. Understanding this original protective purpose helps shift your relationship with this voice from adversary to ally. Behind every criticism lies a deep desire for excellence or safety. When your inner voice says, "You're not ready," it might be expressing a wish for thorough preparation. When it whispers, "You'll fail," it could be highlighting areas that need attention. Learning to decode these messages transforms criticism into valuable feedback. The critic gains power from anonymity. When you shine light on this voice, examining its origins and assumptions, its authority begins to diminish. Often you'll find it speaking with borrowed voices, parents, teachers, society, rather than your authentic wisdom. Silencing this voice doesn't mean eliminating it entirely. Instead, it means adjusting its volume and tone. Like turning down music that's too loud, you learn to reduce the critic's intensity while still hearing its valuable messages. This calibration allows you to benefit from its insights without being dominated by its fears. The practice involves developing a new relationship with internal dialogue. Instead of accepting or fighting the critic's pronouncements, you learn to engage with curiosity. Each critical thought becomes an opportunity for deeper self-understanding rather than a sentence of inadequacy. This transformation requires compassion, not just for yourself, but for the critic itself. This voice, harsh as it may be, developed to protect you. Acknowledging its protective intent while choosing more supportive ways of self-guidance creates space for a new kind of internal relationship. Your inner dialogue gradually shifts from criticism to coaching. Rather than berating yourself for mistakes, you learn to extract lessons. Instead of harsh judgment about inadequacies, you develop thoughtful assessment of areas for growth. The voice of criticism evolves into a voice of wisdom. The goal isn't permanent silence, but conscious conversation. Your inner critic becomes one voice among many, including voices of encouragement, wisdom, and possibility. This internal chorus, properly balanced, guides you toward growth with both support and discernment. Chapter 17. Fear and Action. The Secret to Momentum. The first step echoes in empty space. Your heart races, palms sweat, mind spins with possibilities, both thrilling and terrifying. In this moment of decision, a profound truth emerges. Action isn't the result of conquering fear, it's the pathway through it. Movement itself becomes the medicine. Most people wait for fear to subside before taking action, creating a perpetual holding pattern. The secret lies in reversing this equation. Action, even tiny steps, begins dissolving fear immediately. Each movement forward, however small, creates momentum that carries you through resistance. Fear's power often lies in anticipation rather than reality. The mind can generate endless scenarios of what might go wrong, creating a maze of paralysis. But in the moment of action, these mental projections give way to actual experience. Reality, even when challenging, proves more manageable than imagination's worst fears. This principle operates at both physical and psychological levels. Just as your body generates energy through movement, your confidence grows through action. Each step forward, regardless of outcome, builds your capacity for handling uncertainty. Success isn't required for this growth, only movement. The key lies in starting small but starting now. Rather than waiting for perfect conditions or complete readiness, you begin with what's available in this moment. These micro-actions might seem insignificant, but they create ripples of change that grow into waves of momentum. Your relationship with fear transforms through this practice. Instead of seeing fear as a signal to stop, you recognize it as energy available for action. The physical sensations of fear, increased heart rate, heightened awareness, surge of energy, become fuel for movement rather than signs of danger. This approach redefines courage. Rather than the absence of fear, courage becomes the willingness to take action while feeling afraid. This distinction frees you from waiting for fearlessness and allows you to begin moving forward from exactly where you are. The momentum generated through action creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Each step forward builds confidence, making the next step easier. Fear doesn't disappear, but its character changes from a wall that blocks you to a companion that walks beside you. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear through action, but to build a new relationship with it through movement. Every step forward demonstrates that fear need not be cleared before progress begins. Action itself becomes both the method and the medicine for fear. Chapter 18. The Power of Courageous Conversations. Words hang unspoken in the air between two people. Your heart races, thoughts tangle, and the easy path of avoidance beckons. Yet in these charged moments of potential dialogue lies extraordinary power. Courageous conversations become the bridges between where you are and where you want to be. These conversations shape the landscape of your life. A heartfelt discussion with a loved one can transform a relationship. A honest dialogue with a colleague can redirect a career. A vulnerable sharing of truth with yourself can reshape your entire future. The words you dare to speak become the architects of change. Fear often masks these conversations as optional. The mind creates elaborate justifications for silence, waiting for the right moment, avoiding conflict, maintaining peace. Yet these reasons often protect you from growth rather than harm. The conversations you fear most frequently hold the keys to your next evolution. The power of these dialogues lies not just in their content, but in their courage. Each time you choose truth over comfort, authenticity over avoidance, you strengthen your capacity for honest engagement. Like a muscle growing stronger through exercise, your ability to handle difficult conversations expands through practice. Preparation for these conversations begins with internal dialogue. Before speaking with others, you must first be honest with yourself. What truth seeks expression? What fear asks for acknowledgement? This self-awareness creates the foundation for meaningful exchange. The approach matters as much as the content. Entering these conversations with curiosity rather than certainty creates space for genuine dialogue. Instead of preparing a perfect speech, you prepare yourself to listen, learn, and engage authentically with whatever emerges. Timing plays a crucial role, but perfect timing remains elusive. While some moments prove more favorable than others, Waiting for ideal conditions often becomes another form of avoidance. The best time for a courageous conversation is usually now, handled with care and consciousness. These dialogues transform both speaker and listener. When you dare to voice your truth, you change not only the situation, but also yourself. Each courageous conversation builds your capacity for authentic expression and deeper connection. The very act of speaking truth alters your relationship with fear. Remember, the goal of courageous conversations isn't perfect communication but authentic engagement. Success lies not in flawless execution, but in the willingness to step into vulnerable dialogue. Each conversation becomes practice in choosing truth over comfort, growth over stagnation. Chapter 19. Building a fear-proof mindset. Steel doesn't become strong through gentle handling. It's forged in fire, hammered by experience, tempered through challenge. Your mind develops resilience through a similar process. A fear-proof mindset isn't born from avoiding fear, but from deliberately engaging with it until uncertainty becomes your ally. This mindset begins with a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of seeing challenges as threats to be avoided, you learn to view them as opportunities for strengthening your mental resilience. Each difficult situation becomes a chance to practice responding rather than reacting, to choose growth over protection. The foundation of this mindset rests on understanding that comfort zones are not places of power, but areas of stagnation. Growth occurs at the edges of your current capabilities, in the space where challenge meets courage. This understanding transforms your relationship with discomfort from something to avoid into something to engage with purposefully. Developing this mindset requires daily practice in small moments. The choice to speak up in a meeting, to try something new, to face a minor fear. These seemingly insignificant decisions build the mental muscles needed for larger challenges. Each small victory reinforces your capacity for handling uncertainty. The fear-proof mind doesn't lack fear, it processes fear differently. Rather than treating fear as a warning to stop, it recognizes fear as information to consider. This subtle shift changes everything. Fear becomes data rather than directive, information rather than command. This approach involves developing new mental habits. Instead of automatically avoiding what feels uncomfortable, you learn to pause, assess, and choose your response. This gap between stimulus and reaction becomes your space of power, where conscious choice replaces conditioned response. The practice extends beyond individual moments of challenge into your entire worldview. You begin seeing life not as a series of threats to be managed, but as opportunities for growth to be embraced. This perspective shift fundamentally changes how you approach everything, from daily annoyances to major life changes. Building this mindset requires community. Surrounding yourself with others committed to growth creates an environment where courage becomes contagious. Their examples inspire, their support strengthens, and their presence reminds you that growth happens through connection rather than isolation. Your fear-proof mindset becomes not just a personal asset, but a gift to others. As you demonstrate the possibility of engaging with fear differently, you create permission for others to do the same. Your journey of transformation extends beyond personal growth into positive social impact.